There we go. Easy.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome Collin Morikawa to the 2022 Sentry Tournament of Champions interview room here at the Plantation Course at Kapalua. Collin, third start at Kapalua, 2 top 10 finishes. Just some comments on what it's like to be back here.
It's a great place to be back. You know, when you're spending the new year and you're starting your first tournament of the season or of the new year at Kapalua, it means you're doing something right, and hopefully we can just continue that. You had to have won to get here, and it's just a great feeling. It's a great kind of ease into the year. You know, having such a small field, a no-cut event, not the easiest walk to start your year off, especially after taking some time off, but it's a great place to be. The views are beautiful, and I love Hawaii.
Awesome. And with that 2-time winner last season, 8 top 10s, just recap that for us.
Yeah, it wasn't everything that I wanted. I think the consistency factor wasn't quite there to what I've kind of harped on since turning pro. But anytime you have a 2-win season, that's going to be good. And obviously the 2 wins were pretty big. And I think looking back, there's a lot of positives, which I'm definitely going to make sure I continue to kind of feed off of. I think that's a big thing, is not just to look at the negatives and not look at the downsides, but is to look at the positives of what I've done well. And I've definitely been able to do that, and how do I improve from that? But there's also a lot of aspects, that I want to keep working on, and that's what's great about what we do.
Awesome. With that, we'll open it up to questions. Doug Ferguson with the Associated Press.
Just because I don't listen so well half the
Yeah.
time, Collin, I think I missed something. You just said you look at positive and not negative.
No, I look at both, right?
Yeah.
And I think when I first turned pro, I looked at a lot of if I didn't play well, you had a mediocre finish, right? You kind of harp on what you did bad, and then sometimes you have to do that.
Right.
But I think when you do play well, you have to remember what you've done really well as well, because we play well, and then you want to keep playing well, you want to keep winning, and sometimes you go on another tangent and you search for something different when you forget about what you actually were doing really well that week. And it's me just talking with my coach, with Rick, and figuring out what were the mindsets, what were we thinking when we did play well, because those are the times you want to draw back on. I still go back to when I won my first big junior event, the Western Junior, and there's still things that there's one thing that we still talk about, that still helps with my swing sometimes when you're in a little rut, right? So you have to remember the good things just as much as you remember the bad things, and learn from both of those.
For those of us who weren't at that Western Junior, I'm kind of actually fascinated by it. What are your strongest memories from that?
It was.
Where was it, for example?
Where was it?
Yeah.
It was somewhere in Indiana.
In case we.
I don't even remember the course, and that's probably bad on me. But it was. I had tried something out in my swing that one week, and granted, I don't really do it, but it taught me something about just hitting a golf ball. That's still good to remember. It's kind of almost a drill now. Yeah, it's pretty simple.
Can you share what it is, or is that just something for you?
No, I think that's something that I'm going to keep. I mean, it's fairly simple, though. It's nothing out of the ordinary.
Just looking for a lesson. Andy, absolutely.
Matt, I want to ask you about your new equipment. We're hearing about this carbon face driver. Can you tell me about it and what changes you've seen in your game from it?
Yeah, TaylorMade's been able to put 60 pieces of carbon together on the face, and it's unbelievable. The feel is there, which is great, right? Obviously, the first 2 things that we look at is feel and sight. And obviously, the red face took me 5 hits, hit it, don't even think about it anymore. I think it looks so clean. But the carbon, it creates the feel that normally you'd feel off a titanium face, titanium driver. TaylorMade has already, in the past few years, has already put carbon in part of their heads, on the top, on the bottom. But to really put it in the face and to change that technology, it's been fantastic. And I've actually seen some increases in ball speed. This is the first time where I've actually seen that jump, which has been great. Anytime you can get a little more ball speed, get a little more distance, it's going to be helpful. And to actually see that, not work any harder, I haven't gotten that much stronger, I haven't gotten that much bigger, but to get that just little extra out of it, it's going to be beneficial sometimes on certain holes.
I guess, and how important is that the club for you, I guess, given that we know that you're the best iron player in the universe? Like, that's not something you don't need to have to worry about, but the driver is the one thing that maybe you can get some improvement, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I've got to put it in the fairway. So it obviously starts from the tee, and that's a huge aspect of my game, because it's not just, you know, from the fairway. Like, I still put it in the fairway. I still need to put it in the fairway. So it's huge. You know, knowing that I can trust a driver that's not, for me, it's not going to go left. I can hit my left to right cut shot and just be able to hit that everywhere we go. It's really crucial in me just trusting the product. And so far, what I've seen in this short time, it's already beaten what I've had in the past. And that's what's great, is that, you know, I'm sure there's going to be tweaks here and there. Like, it's still very early on in the season of, you know, figuring out and making sure my swing is exactly where I want it to be. But the club has produced some really good shots, and that's what's great, is that so early on into the testing, it's been really easy to transition into it. And that's what you can tell, is that, like, we're not thinking about the face. It's just thinking about, okay, how do we match the spin to what we want, the launch to what we want, and it's been really easy to mess around with that.
What does or what did the chase for number one mean to you?
Yeah, look, it's been a dream my entire life to get to number one in the world, but it's not just about getting to number one, it's about sustaining that. And, you know, having the opportunity, obviously having an opportunity here, and it's all, you know, it's all in my control. All I can do is try and win the tournament, and that's all I'm going to focus on. But it's a huge goal. You know, it always has been, and it means something that when you do get there, you know, it means you're doing something right, or at least a good amount of things right. And it's just about continuing that process. And it's not like that's a peak, just I get to number one and I can go retire and relax on the beach. Like, there are still so many things that I'm going to keep pushing myself when that does happen. So, you know, for me, it's just every week, go out and try and win, and we'll see what happens from there.
One more, sorry, Ben. Have you seen or will you expect to feel a change with the green reading book situation? Is it something that you focused on or not?
You know, yeah, I mean, it's huge. Obviously, with our yardage books, we can't use any of our old yardage books. So, it was at this point now where I've seen every course, but now I like to take notes. I like to put big arrows just so I can see it a little easier in my eyes. But yeah, I mean, for me, the green reading books, like, I used them a lot for my approach shots, like to know where pins are at, to know what kind of slopes are, you know, 5 yards versus 10 yards away. Like, can I use this? So it's going to be an adjustment, because pretty much throughout college, even, like, we were using them. Like, our college teams had them, we were using them, and I probably used it more for approach shots than I did for putting, but it's still going to be an adjustment to kind of remember. So maybe that's on my caddy to remember all the slopes before we go.
Do you think we'll see, like, I'm not going to say who it is, but will there be a player or two that, like, sees an extreme benefit out of the change, like, just comes out of nowhere, and maybe that's part of the reason?
Possibly. I think that's up. It's an unknown right now, right? I mean, we all say we use it, or a lot of guys use it, but to what extent, we don't know. Our guys maybe going to realize they're better green readers than they were before, because we were relying on something that was given to us rather than sometimes really feeling it out. And some guys might have great feel that they didn't know they had. So, you know, it can go both ways. I really don't know how it's going to go. I mean, I think so far, you know, obviously this is the first tournament without him. I think I'm going to be fine just knowing how I use them in the past. You know, I trust my caddy with everything we do anyway, so I'm not too worried, but I'm sure a lot of other guys that really rely on it, you've got to find another way, right?
Collin, guys have talked for years about trying to peak for the majors, for the biggest events of the year, and I'm just curious your philosophy on trying to peak in a game that's very awkward to begin with in terms of funny bounces, and you just can't predict so much in this game.
Yeah.
How do you go about that?
You know, I think, you know, and I've heard it since I've turned pro, right? How do guys prep differently for majors? How do you go into these weeks differently than a normal event? Because they do want to peak, meaning they do want to just win these 4 events, or at least play their best in these 4. And for me, I think peaking is more just, it's more about, like, can you get your rest? Can you get your prep in? Can you do everything before the week actually starts? And then when you show up to the week, for me at least, it's been the same as every other week as how I prep. So, I'm not going to show up to a major playing 4 or 5 events before being drained by the time I show up at a major. I think that's how I kind of look at peaking, is making sure everything away from the golf course is where I want it to be. And then I can just go and do what I normally do week in and week out, is show up on Monday, do my prep, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and by Thursday I feel really ready. That's how I've kind of gone about it. But, absolutely, like, for me, I want to win every event. I'm showing up to every event the same way. And, but, some weeks they might fall at a 3-week stretch, right? Some might fall at the beginning of a first week, and, you don't know. But majors, you kind of plan them out to make sure that, you're well rested. I think that's really setting you up for success for you to peak.
Can you think of moments in your relatively still short career where you went into a major feeling like you were in a good spot and didn't deliver, or times where you weren't quite sure and then played lights out? St. George's, for example.
St. George's was, the Open was weird because I felt like I was actually playing really well. And forget about the Scottish, because the Scottish, I was searching for answers, right?
Yeah.
I felt like I was swinging well. I mean, the U.S. Open was maybe 2-3 weeks before that, and I was hitting the ball well. I felt great with my clubs, and everything felt the same with that prep going up to the Scottish. But I knew something was off. Like, I knew it was, and we always talk about don't blame it on your equipment, don't blame it on this. But like, I felt that good about my golf game that I knew something with my irons, something was just off. So I had to go find that answer, and thankfully I did, right? So I didn't feel that off once I was able to switch irons, once I was able to switch, the weight in my putting and my putter. So I wouldn't say like I felt off before the week. I just needed to find that answer. And once I did on Monday, it was smooth sailing, or not smooth sailing, but it was like a lot. I was really confident with how the week, at least stepping into Thursday, how it was going to go.
I had a couple others for you. Considering the start to your career of winning quickly after graduation, and the next year and the next year, has this felt like one big season since you turned pro, or have you been able to find yourself, stopping points and starting points again?
Yeah, I mean, knock on wood. This 2021, 2022 season could possibly be my first normal season. Obviously we had COVID and we had a super season last year. So yeah, it has felt like just a continuation of a lot of golf. It's been a lot, and ever since college, I've always taken about a week off during the winter, and then I get that itch back. I get that kind of want to just go and grind and be out there, and that kind of lasts me through the entire year. This kind of break, it took me a little longer to get over that hurdle of like getting the itch back. And it's not that, I don't think that's a telling sign of like, do I not love it? Do I love this game? Like, I still love it. I love it even more. But I just needed, a couple extra weeks, just a little more time to really realize that, okay, now I'm ready to just go out here and just love it and grind and be ready to play some great golf.
What did you do post Bahamas, golf club wise?
Not a lot. We had some sponsor days, and that was my so-called practice. Had some friends come over that wanted to play golf, so I'd play with them. And it was really light. It was kind of just keep it as light as possible.
So when you would get ready to ramp up for the new year, did you push the date back a little bit?
Yeah, I kind of just felt it out. When my friends came over, it was still early on into my break. So that got me going, and I was like, oh, maybe I am ready to get back. And then you take a couple more days off, and you're like, oh, maybe not. And it really, for me, it really hits me on a certain day. You wake up, and you're just like, I miss it. You miss golf. And it's a great feeling, because you wake up, and you're just like, I'm ready to go. Like, it's, I don't know, it's like an aha moment.
Yeah.
The light bulb turns on, and you're just like, you want the new year to start, because we're so used to traveling. We're so used to being on the road, playing golf, playing tournaments every week. Is that, when you're separated from that, it's nice, but then it's not the norm. And to go back to it, it feels good to be back.
There was a story from a well, you were probably in kindergarten at the time, where Tiger's schedule was such that he would actually walk away when he was at peak golf, and come back when he was just itching to go. Have you found yourself in any of those situations where it was time to take a break, even though you were really on a roll or felt like your game was in the perfect spot, and you needed to tell yourself, no, this is the plan, stick with it, and avoid the temptation of keep going? It's a long question. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've found that yet. I mean, the winter break has proven that, and I think it's exactly at your point there. But there's so many events in the season. There's so many great events that I want to keep playing, that I've played well at, or I like the course, or I like the tournament. And then you add on the majors. You know, you still got to play a minimum number of events. You still got to go play these events. And thankfully, since I've turned pro, I've been very fortunate, right, to be able to pick my schedule and kind of spread it out and make sure I'm not playing 4 weeks in a row or 5 or 6. I've been able to take, a couple weeks off, 3 weeks off here and there, and kind of build it off that. So, I feel like I've done a good job with that, and I haven't had to just really take a break because I needed it. The winter time is, I need this break. Like I needed that.
And then a couple more, if you don't mind. Do you watch golf on TV? Do you watch a lot when you're off?
Not a ton. I've watched more actually since I've turned pro, but not a ton.
Why do you watch?
What do I watch?
Why?
I don't know. I mean, I grew up with the TV in my room, and like I always had SportsCenter on. Like that was kind of always the thing, and I don't know. I mean, like we're on the golf course so much. I'm with all these guys every single week. Like I'd rather watch Food Channel, like 99 out of 100 times, rather than seeing what someone's going to do. Sometimes on Sundays, like I'll turn it on more often than not, just because it's coming down. But like a Thursday round, if I wake up, like I'm not really interested.
On the Food Channel, who controls the remote in the house?
I kind of control the remote. She uses her Cat's got her iPad and watches that.
The reason I brought that up in the first place, I was just curious if you tuned into the PNC at all. Were you curious to see Tiger?
I did a little bit. Yeah. I mean, it's hard not to. But I was watching the final day when Charlie was hitting those iron shots, and it was good. I mean, I think he stuck it on the par 3 on 17, closer than anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone was from the same tee. That was an unbelievable shot. I mean, he's good. He's good.
And lastly, are you a good gift giver? And are you
No.
are you
No.
easy to? Do you think you're easy to shop for? This is kind of a Christmas question, obviously.
No, I'm not easy to shop for because I don't really want a lot. So it makes it harder, and I'm not a great gift giver either.
Are we going to get any details out of this? What did Kat get you for Christmas?
No, we can leave it. Leave it aside. Great track.
Appreciate the time, Collin. Good luck this week.
Thank you. What's up? Yeah, I mean, it was something.